Okay, so it's back.
Hello.
Hi, Stephen. Actually, there's Skida Bomsky from Japan who maybe wants to call in, if it is possible to arrange.
Yeah, sure, it'd be good to hear from him.
I've joined you into the chat which I had with him, and from there you can piggyback him. Is it possible? Or should Mark do it?
He could call me, I suppose, actually. Just give me a sec just to figure out any bits and pieces here, and I'll see if I can do that. Hang on a sec. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Well, I can't do that, man. I have a headset. I don't have speakers.
Same here.
I think I'm going to be able to. Just give us a sec. I think it really depends on how good his line is to my Skype, really, but we'll give it a go. I'll see if I can give him a ring now. If anyone's talking to him in that little chat thing there, could you let him know?
Did he say talk amongst ourselves?
Yes, I think he did.
Yep, that would be the
Did you hear the...
Please don't ask me to ask how the weather is.
Right, I've got Chris with me now. Do you want to say something, Chris, just so we can check that, you know, you can be heard and so on?
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys here. Just drove back from Hitachi tonight. Just got back to Tokyo. And Hitachi's just like 60 kilometers away from the safety zone. So just can you all hear me?
Could you hear that?
Yeah, but it's a little hard to discern what he's saying from the natural reverb of the room, so I don't know what you would do, but you can hear him though.
I might be able to turn him down a bit. Let me try that. How's that? Well, Chris, say something. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Go on, mate. Say something.
All right. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
See, straight away you got that. How was that?
Great.
Oh, well, jolly good. Well, hello, Skip. How you doing, mate? You're on the radio with us. What did you want to say? Did you have something to say? Or we just dropped you in it?
I just wanted to say what letter was actually missing from the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? What letter is it?
There's meant to be a letter missing from that.
Well, you tell me what letter it is.
S. Well, it used to be S, but I thought if you said the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs, then you've nailed every letter.
Yeah, well, it's probably that. It's probably that. Maybe you've got the stream playing or something, Bashi, or something.
If he's in the call, he can't be in vent. That won't work out well.
Well, we're here. Wait, I'm just going to... Chris, did you actually... did you phone in to say something, mate? That's what I really want to ask you.
Yeah, I just got back from Hitachi. I posted on the site that I was going to Hitachi, and that's like 60 kilometers away from the Fukushima Daiichi power plant.
So that's like ground zero.
So, yeah. So I just spent 2 days there, so I can tell you what happened.
Well, how did you get there, first of all? Did you go by train then, I take it?
No, we went by car.
Oh, right.
We drove there, and we was there to do a street show, so it's a street festival, and it was cancelled last year,
right,
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I tried to find out all the information I could about asking the locals, but they do seem to look like withdrawn, you know, and they look tired. They must have felt like every single aftershock that happened. And one of the staff that was appointed to us, this girl, she was 17, she was in school last year, and I asked her about the earthquake and stuff, and she said she was in school and everybody was freaking out, crying, it was all a mess, and it went on for like months, whereas in Tokyo we only felt a few aftershocks here and there. Anyway, she didn't really want to talk about the date itself and the aftershocks. She could tell she's kind of glad it's kind of calmed down a bit, but I asked her about the radiation. Are you not worried about the radiation? You know, she's like really close to it, and she just went, she kind of looked down and just said, there is no radiation. So there's like an ignorance, there's an ignorance going on there.
Is it an ignorance?
They just kind of ignore it.
Do you reckon it could be fear, as in, if it's not there, it can't get me?
Well, the thing is, when you're there, I was there, and it's like everything's just going on as normal. Everybody's just acting like there is no Fukushima, it doesn't exist, or they're just, I don't know, the Japanese have a weird way of like dealing with this, but the richness seems to have gone from the city, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like the richness has gone. Even the performers were saying there was a weird energy with the people. You know, it was just hard to really get them like belly laughing. You know, they look kind of withdrawn, and I guess the people who have got money or the ways of getting out of the area would have done. You know, their parents left and they've got no choice. I never think of how difficult it would be to leave, and I could realise when I was there how difficult it would be for them to leave when you've got this invisible enemy or whatever you call it, and where it's not affecting them immediately, so they don't feel like they're in jeopardy or nothing. They're using Geiger counters, they're checking the radiation, and they're saying it's not so bad, nothing as bad as what people are making out. So, and they've got families and kids, and they're living in like council houses, like imagine in England, like they've got them in Japan as well, and these families are all living there, and everybody's just working. The place is just as packed as it has been a couple of years ago. Yeah,
but you find that there anyway, because they're packed in quite tight anyway in the land that can be used, and plus people that they can't leave, can they? Because who are they going to swap with? Who's going to take up their residence, their job in that town? For them to take a vacancy somewhere else. This is kind of the thing that happens there because it's in such short supply, land. So yeah, they're trapped there. And the thing is, I suppose, when you know something like that has gone off in your city or in your country, they must be left thinking, well, what next? What are we working for? What are we working to? It must be absolutely. It must be terrible to work. And as a performer, to be there and try and cause some sort of levity in that kind of situation, I mean, that must have been difficult, Skip. I bet that was really difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the second show I did, a kid came out in the middle of the show and kind of came up and just gave me a sweet, and I thought that was kind of funny, so I unwrapped the sweet and it dropped on the floor, and everyone went quiet. The whole audience there. I mean, I'm looking down at this sweet and it's on the floor, and I just thought, fuck it, and I just stuck my tongue out, pulled this stupid face, and then went right down to the floor and licked it off the floor. and I just went, radiation, who gives a shit?
Wow.
And they all started clapping.
Really?
Yeah, I did that, and I looked at my missus, and she was looking at me in the crowd, cringing, and I'm like, I won't be getting any kisses off her.
yeah. But what could you do? You're placed in the position, aren't you? What are you going to do? The kid come out and gave you a sweet. I know you, and I know what you're like. You had no choice, mate, did you?
Yeah, but the thing is, it dropped. It was almost like it was weird the way it dropped out of my hand. Was like, and then it is lying on the floor, and I was like, fuck it. Because it really doesn't faze me for some strange reason. But like I said, you're looking at, I'm more looking at the kids there, and me and the missus are saying, we're looking at kids and going, and I say, look, it's alright for us. We know that we could go. I've got work where I can work anywhere. I can just set up wherever I go. I'm a street entertainer. I can do anything I want. But these people can't. And a lot of people who leave Flux, they get labelled, so when they move up down south and stuff, some people they won't allow them to get there. They get labelled and marked, and so they're not allowed to move anywhere else, like they've got to stay. Not a lot of people know this.
Really?
But they kind of they're keeping them there. So they kind of like become prejudiced to them, like in Japan, they cross the fingers, like we cross our fingers for good luck.
Yeah.
Well, in Japan they do that, which they do that with both hands, and they point it to people, and when they do that, that's body language of like they're disgusting, they're dirty, or they're smelly, or bad. Well, they do that now to the Fluxion people, or the people who live around that area.
Shit, that's
yeah, they get. Yeah, it's heavy that, yeah.
Is this because of radiation? Do you think this is because of the radiation they're bringing it with them? This is the feeling behind it, do you think?
Yeah. Totally, because the people who live down south are all like, they feel like they're all clean and blah, blah, blah. And, they feel like they're when you hear the reading radiation wasn't sort of going to contaminate the place. Well, imagine if like a portion of America was living at the bottom half of Japan in the south, and you know the Americans can get really hyped up about this radiation stuff.
Yeah.
This is very similar to that. Someone from Fukushima goes to live in your area in America, and then people would do that. They'd be the same, you know. They'd react the same way. They'd be like, this guy's contaminated, stay away from me.
Yeah. The problem is the example's there now, isn't it? I mean, recently they shut down all 50 plants, didn't they? Electricity's become very, we were talking about it earlier on, it's become very expensive, and you've got first-hand knowledge, didn't you?
Yeah, I only heard the very end bit of the conversation. I remember when I joined I remember you saying Japan's fucked, so I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And then it kind of I'm still kind of curious, what was that about?
Well, not to hark back on about it, but we were just basically talking about, you know, the reasons that we think it's been done and that it's happened, you know, basically we were talking about Miyamoto Musashi and the way they do business and how they are as a people, that they were a stand-up people and they weren't going to sit down for anything. And I personally believe that this is a way of making people sit down, as they've used in the past with that country, quite frankly. Who the perpetrators are.
Yeah, for sure.
So we were just saying about that, really. So that's where that got me.
And it's just the Japanese just won't comply, though, really, you know. You try to do something, they'll say, yeah, okay, and then they won't. And then they go against what you want them to do, and they get bullied for it.
Well, this is the essence of samurai, isn't it? I mean, as I said, Miyamoto, I mean, his whole ethos, as far as I understand it, was to do the unexpected and to not comply to anyone's rules, comply to your own honour, and only answer to that, which gives you quite a good spread then, doesn't it, if you're not going to, you know, and so basically they stand up and do what they want and so on, and this is not the conducive with the order that is being brought in. So you know, but now we got onto that subject. It was basically about electricity. I mean, they've shut those 50 plants down now, so nuclear energy is no longer a viable concern for the foreseeable future, or maybe indefinitely. So electricity bills, your electricity bills are now sky high, I take it.
Yeah, triple now.
Right, and what are they burning now? How are they generating this energy now? As far as I understood, it was electric, being generated by coal fires. Is that correct?
Yeah, they've got that and loads of other stuff. I'm learning more as I go along about how they're doing it, but they only provided 30% of the nuclear power. Only provided 30% of the electricity in Japan. They already had different ways and different means and stuff. Basically, they just don't need it, and they never have needed it. But they were kind of again bullied into it. But you know, if you look at the ceremonies that they had when they erected, like Fukushima Daiichi power plant, they have all these, you know, these people that they worship the ground when the house is built, and they worship the building before it's built and erected and stuff. Well, they were doing all that, and there's loads of riots going on when they very, very first started. I don't remember the dates, I just read up on it, but there were loads of riots going on that they didn't want it, they didn't need it. They said it's a stupid way to boil water, and they didn't want it, didn't want to be a part of it, but they got bullied into it again. And I think that was TEPCO and all these big companies and stuff, and they're the ones who are fucking up the whole situation as well. They've made the evacuation point to a minimal 30 kilometres or something, and then they had good days, and they said, well, now you can come back, and 18 million people moved back in. It's obviously massive amounts of people that have moved back within the, you know, just outside of the 30-mile radius city zone. Actually, I spoke to somebody who said, like, I can see where the radius is. It's down that street and down there and down, you know, and I'm like, and you live you feel okay about it. You can throw a stone to the safety zone and they feel alright about it. They're going, okay. And that's scary as well. Listen, he's holding the hand of his little kid and it's like, does she get a choice?
Yeah, I mean, it does come to the mind that there is a certain amount of denial for sanity, really, doesn't it? Just to be able to carry on, because that kid's still got to go to school and so on. And when you've got commitments to people, I suppose there is you must go into a certain type of denial just to carry on, because otherwise you sit down and say, well, what's the fucking point? Where am I going to be? What cancer am I going to have in 20 years' time, etc. And as you said, they can't move, they're stuck. And just going back on that, you just said about they were bullied into it. You're quite correct, they were bullied into it. In the nuclear, when nuclear fission was first, when UK and America were working on two different types of reactor. And funny enough, I suppose, by the way they do things, the English went around their arse to get to their elbow and made a very safe and very efficient reactor. But it wasn't, it was too convoluted, there was too many parts that were problematic and so on. Even though it was very safe, it was almost too safe. And the Americans went for a more direct approach. I'm not exactly sure what fissionable, what describes the fissionable process they used, but they went for a more direct approach. And basically Britain decided that that approach was more effective, even though it gave more disused contaminated material at the end of it, it was more effective. So they very quickly dumped their technology and started taking on the American technology, and swiftly that technology had to be handed over, because we're talking about machines here that cost an awful lot of money, and there's a lot of design and development and a lot of money was made involved in that to sell those somewhere. And this is where they were punted off on North Korea and Japan and places, and they're stuck with that system, and that system isn't and wasn't designed for really being able to survive an earthquake. Those design initiatives were taken depending on where they were put in situ afterwards as a hindsight, so you can see the kind of skullduggery and bullshit that went on. And the very way they were sold should tell you, they were sold through Europe, I can't remember what it was. It was especially with North Korea. They were under all sorts of, especially nuclear, all sorts of trade bans. So they went. So England and America couldn't deal with Korea straight on. So they came through Europe and done it for a German company. And this is all fact. You can actually trace these sales, and these sales were made to North Korea, even though there were people there warning that centrifuges were being built, huge centrifuges to make weapons-grade plutonium and so on. And here they are being sold UK-based reactors by the English through a proxy sale. And this is, as I say, it's all documented, it's evidence, but this is all brushed under the carpet now. So, once you start looking down the road that got them there, all right, you can say, well, it was an earthquake. Okay, well, let's just say it was a natural occurrence and it was an earthquake. There's still reprehensible behaviour all the way down the line, and it comes all the way back to the people that manufactured and sold the process in the first place, because obviously they were under some sort of inherent honour code with this kind of technology to say, well, this was not designed for your country, but that's not how it was done, that's not how it was pushed, and this is, and here we are, we have an earthquake, and now these people are left with this terrible situation. And everyone's washing their hands and saying, oh, how can we help? But they're not really helping, are they? And they're not going to. And when you look at the people pulling the strings behind the lines, and the equipment that's being developed around the world, you start to realise that people are not what they seem, and they're not doing the things they're meant to be doing right across the board. And this is prime example of the result. This is what it gets us, this kind of situation.
Yeah. Do you remember the conversation we had a long time ago, straight after the event actually, and we were talking about people who knew that this event was going to happen, and people that were getting out of the way.
Yeah, certain individuals that left, groups of individuals that left, yes.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of thing. When you see that,
a bit more.
Well, when you see that, I mean, you physically knew of it. I knew of it. We discussed it. But what are we actually discussing there? What we're saying is that groups of people, organised groups of people, vacated the area before it happened. So, but that's all we're saying.
Yeah.
But it didn't shine a light on why, and then what happened straight afterwards. That's where your suspicions lie, aren't they? You know. And when you get enough of those kinds of events and you stack them all up, you realise that people did know it was going to happen, and then you say, well, if people knew it was going to happen, what the fuck? Why wasn't anything done about it? And then when you realise that nothing was done about it deliberately, you see, but you don't get all these facts in one place anywhere, do you, Skip? You know, you never, you know, it's only conversations like this between me and you that we've even put two things together there, where you physically saw it and I knew of it, and I turn around, is so-and-so going, and you've turned around and said yes, then we know that that's happened really between the two of us. But this isn't, you know, we're on the radio now, but it wasn't common knowledge to everybody, and there isn't any one place where you can come and view all this kind of material, because people don't gather it together and put it in one place, do they? And this is the kind of thing that needs to be done, and this is the kind of thing that someone like you does just by coming on the radio, and this is why it's important, isn't it?
Because we were saying that, I remember saying about, especially like the White Dragon Society, I don't know how big, I don't know if you know anything about them.
Well, yeah, everybody knows something about them.
I knew they'd all like, but no, I mean, like, do you know them, like, Twin Drunk, how are you getting on?
No, I wouldn't say that, no. It's more a corporate entity that I would know.
Right.
The front fence.
But anyway, they'd all cast in and moved out before the event and stuff, and we were just talking about like people who, like, there was a few people I think on YouTube who said that psychically that, you know, there's a lot of people out there psychically they know these events are going to happen, and these are just normal individuals. So
well, yes, a lot of that goes back to what we were talking.
Like, these are just normal psychic people. What about the real psychic people, the ones that with the abilities that you might say? Now they'd already passed information on. Loads of people would like benefit because you can make money from disasters, or sometimes you need a disaster to make good. And this is something else that I've been thinking about as well, in a weird way. You know, when you get disasters, you've got to make good from bad, the winners and the losers, all that type of thing, yeah? Mm. And then Japan is like a guinea pig again, and use like if Japan can light up its country, which is probably the most electrically used country in the world, without nuclear power, and the rest of the world follows suit, and blah blah blah, yada yada yada, we end up with a nuclear-free planet. You know, you could look at it in that way as well.
Don't you find that when let's look at the oil industry, let's look at the coal industry, right? So just take the UK, Ireland, very similar in nature. Would you agree? In a lot of ways, private people suffer in silence. You know, we're similar in a lot of ways. You've got medieval honour code, you've got samurai honour code. There's a lot of things. You know, we're in Ireland and so on. So take the coal industry in the UK, right? So that was destroyed, and that's how we made energy. So then we moved on to oil, and this is expensive, still used, coal is still used slightly, but then fissionable material come along and we use that. But what I was going to say was, in each of those transitions, do you think for one moment that the coal industry didn't know it was coming? The oil industry didn't know that they couldn't hold it on their own, and that they didn't know that nuclear fission was going to become available? So my statement on that is, if Japan stepped down from nuclear energy and they replace it with their previous or the standard ways of generating electricity that they already have, as you said, it was only 30%. I presume we're back to hydroelectric generated power, which would be a very minimal amount, and then we're back to fuels again, aren't we? So then they're back in that same barrel. They are now on the teat of the oil train again. So a little bit of independence has been removed. A huge blow has been dealt to industry, because you can imagine, right, from a personal a person's point of view, a triple electricity bill is a pain in the arse, you know. That's really going to take a bite out of the fridge, isn't it? But if you look at it on an industry scale, it's crippling, absolutely crippling. So this means they're going to have to rethink what their industry really is, and what they're going to do. But it's definitely dealt them a commercial blow of some magnitude for many years. So that samurai is silenced to an extent. But my point is this: what energy comes next, and who's been working on it, and why have 60 countries got together, some of which are at war, to build CERN? Like literally, some of the countries that have put billions into CERN are actually at war with each other, and yet they can agree on this. What is so important that countries that are at conflict with each other, you know, historically, religiously, what is so important that wants their allegiance together on this one project? And that is where people need to start looking and realising what the actual scientists that are working at CERN don't realise, because everyone's compartmentalised, and and a scientist is looking for their goal. That's their thing. It's a passion. They don't see themselves as doing anything wrong. They're after an answer. But when you've got the people that pay choose who gets funded, and they will choose people key to what they want in the end. And this is why these countries are involved together in this deal. But I can assure you, not any one person really has the complete synopsis of what it's all about and where it's going, and why this particular avenue is being taken. And the fact that some of that material has been removed from there, and it's been worked on in America, and it's been worked on in Siberia, and that they already know what comes next. But you've got to take the big players out of the scenario before you... It's better to... if everyone has the ability to do something, and then you do it, all right, you get the leap, and you're in front, and you might be able to sell them technology. But if you make an innovation that is monumental in its nature, you're going to try and license that. You're going to try and keep that your own, so that people can't do it themselves, and therefore you have control. You have the earth in your hand. If you control the energy, you can, and the manipulation of energy, you control the earth. It's as simple as that, because everything's energetic. Life is based on degradation of energy. So, you know, we all know that. So taking out players and strengthening your own position and making and keeping control of a situation such as this is key to everything. And I think in the next 5 or 6 years, people are going to be very aware of what's been going on. But it will be so far down the road there that they'll be peddling rather than worrying about what to do about it. You know.
Yeah,
and this is the first play in it.
The next thing. Do you remember what you said to me on the thread that was posted? Watch out for any Europeans 6 foot wearing dark glasses. Yeah. Well, check this out. I was walking and got my camera in my hand and walking around and taking pictures of plants and stuff and what have you. Yeah. All the plants, by the way, look totally fine. One of these rock hard dandelions that we've heard, that maybe there's pictures of them up near function, but not why. So, then I saw this 6 foot European guy, dark glasses, hood up. I posted a picture of him on the site.
Right.
I see him, and he's touching the soil, and it looks like as I zoomed in, I got a picture of him. And then I watched him, and then he kind of turned around and he ignored the soil and he walked off, and I kept seeing him all day. And I was fucking freaked. I was like, after what you said, I really kept an eye on him. Then I found out he was just part of the French group that was here for doing a walkabout act. It was one of the insane.
You hope he was, anyway.
I was spying on everything he did, and he'll know in the room he says, "Why are you watching me?" Well, I can't explain.
Because you are a spy. Well, I'm glad a paranoid did that. That's funny. Joking.
I said, what was he doing talking about with the soil for? And he went, I don't know. I was just looking at it like, is there really radiation in the soil, you know?
Well, you know...
He was the perfect character that you described.
Yeah, well, you know, this is the problem, isn't it? You can be over paranoid, can't you? No, I was... you know who I was talking about, don't you, really? Incidentally, you saying about the soil... You saying about the soil, some samples that were taken by someone or other who was there on behalf of the EFO or the Energy or something from America, took some samples and he had permission to take them back into America. When he got them back and they were tested and all the rest of it, after they were tested, due to the reading, they were considered nuclear waste and had to be disposed of in a very, you know, and this is just some soil, you know, so to say that...
I am now nuclear waste.
Yeah, you are, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure if you came back to England, they'd make you go to the toilet in a special toilet.
Tell you what, I'm glowing like a fucking medic kid, I'm sorry.
If you turn up when I see you and you are glowing, you do realise I'm not going to shake your hand, don't you? I'll just say hi and stay about 10 feet away from you, like, you know, throwing cold water. Alright, look, it's been nice talking to you, mate. Is there anything you want to add personally about it? What are you going to do? Are you staying? Or are you coming back?
On the radio?
No, I mean, are you staying in Japan or are you going to come back?
No, I'm staying in Japan till about November and then I'm hitting the road again. I'm going to give up my house and stuff and just hit the road.
But you were going to do that anyway, weren't you?
Yeah, there's no other reason. This is just something that I want to do in my life now. It's like, I want to get back on the road again and go travelling around the world with my backpack and my missus and just go from country to country, because at the moment I've got a base and I don't really want it.
Right.
I don't need it, and I just want to get back on the road again and just go a bit wild for about another 10 years maybe.
Because you're...
computer, so you don't need it.
Yeah. You're better off Japanese, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's going to end up back there. That's where she gets old. Am I right in saying that or wrong? Or is those decisions not kind of been made?
No, we don't know where we're going to end up. Right. Totally ad lib it, you know. But we're definitely planning on living somewhere else eventually. We don't want to live in Japan.
Right, that's really where that's what I was asking, where your personal opinions lie with that. Is that based on what's happened, or is it, were you going to do that anyway? Has this had any sort of bearing on you not settling back there?
No, there's a lot of reasons that are all tied together, but she doesn't want to live in Japan, not just because of the radiation, but of course with me now and our children and stuff, she doesn't even want to be here, anywhere near it. And the other reasons is she's been in it all her life, and she's only travelled when we've had jobs and stuff, and we want to, when we go to a place, we want to stay for a couple of months, we want to try stuff and see I want to see what she's capable of, because she's an amazing creature, you know, she really is an amazing person, and all she's done is manage me for the last 10 years, so I kind of want to find what she wants to do, so I'm going to follow her path, and then she's going to follow mine, I'm going to follow hers, and just see where we end up.
Spoken like a true man. Well, if you come to England and my house is up by then, I'll stick you up for a while. As long as you leave your trainers outside the door, because I've heard about your trainers. All right, mate. Look, it's been nice talking to you, and thanks for phoning in. It was good of you. Speak to you again soon.
All right, mate. Yeah.
See you later. Well, anyone can talk if they want to.
Again, stunned silence. And people just say, why isn't this on the news?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think they'd want to talk to someone like you. Think he would have been sought out. Well, you know, you wouldn't think. You know why they're not. But you know what I mean. This is precisely what we're saying. If there was a lot of people listening to this now, it prompts people to think, well, hang on, that is the straw that broke the camel's back. For the grace, go I. You know, there's a nuclear power plant down the road from me, etc., etc. But if people don't hear it, it doesn't happen, does it?
Seemingly not. But like you said, where do they go?
nowhere to go. That's the point, isn't it? And while everybody's arguing amongst themselves about who's the best person to put it forward and who's got the best this and the best that, nothing's happening. So this is a division that's kept going, and believe me, there's people in this community on the payroll doing it. Known fact. I was accused of being one. While I was looking at the ones that are. Some of them doing the accusing.
And they all saw this coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't hear you, Bashi.
Okay,
Bashi's trying to talk. Yeah, so you're taking your mic off mute now, yeah?
Yeah, I have to get used to these things. My gathering, what I got from this discussion was that you had maybe 1 year and a half before with Ski a discussion about the recent events when it happened freshly, and you asked him whether he has seen some movements of people before this event happened, this so-called accident, and because you had prior knowledge to that one, and it was more or less you both confirmed to each other that this thing has happened. Is it that what was said? Is it not?
Yeah, but let me clarify it a bit. I was very surprised that certain outfits were suddenly upstaking and moving when they'd been historically based there. It was really very odd, and it caused quite a lot of shuffling around of money and so on. And I noted that, and then he gave physical confirmation of that. So that's actually what the conversation was about. That was it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. So this goes more or less also in the direction of HARP, is it not?
No, that's the direction everybody will take it, but no one's got really. There's a real good job being done professionally on HARP for everybody. There's a lot of money being spent on YouTube and places to basically make sure innocent people that have got what they think is evidence promote that evidence as what it is, whilst everyone who's involved in it, because it's a private concern, can stay totally quiet and have got their civil rights to protect them from being exposed, such as the science behind it and so on. But no, HARP's not for that at all. HARP's something completely different. If there is any apparatus involved in anything that is earth moving, shall we say, it won't be that, and it will be based in a much tougher technology, which is connected to the planet, which is to manage an energy as best as I can understand it in my ignorance.
So you are hinting more or less which is solidly connected to the planet.
Yeah.
Which is one of the topics in our forum, is it not?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, look, we've done our quota, haven't we? We've, I don't know, how many hours we've been going, Rose? Your mic's on mute as well, Rose.
It's been 3 hours.
Oh, sorry.
15 minutes.
3 hours.
Yes, it was a great show, and I thank everyone very much for their participation.
So should we call it a day there?
Yes, so you want to sign off with another tune?
Yeah, I think we'll find something appropriate, and we'll play one more tune, and then we'll shut down, shall we?
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Born, for your good questions and responses.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stephen, for having the breath and the, having the breath and the energy to have a 3 hours more or less monologue and discussing so many things. And I hope we can continue in one way or the other, maybe next time, with also input from other members from the staff here and from people calling in and out.
Yeah, it'd be good, wouldn't it? I bore myself sometimes.
Yeah, you're a bully, you can't do anything, it's your nature.
Get stuffed. Right, so we'll sign out. Thanks everyone, yeah, nice one. And we're doing it at the same time next week, aren't we?
Not 1 minute was boring. That's for certain.
Yeah, we will do.
I think my intro was kind of boring.
I thought it was one of the highlights, considering you didn't know you were going to do it.
I guess I can do improv sometimes.
See? Told you could. Alright then, same time next week, yeah? That's right, Rose, isn't it?
Should be. So goodbye, everyone.
Okay, guys.
Never goodbye.
So it's goodbye from Bashi. Bashi, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Till next time. Bye. Till next time.
From the
And
minion.
you, Dal. Say goodbye, Dal.
Goodbye, guys. Till next time.
Mark's going to stay. You're going to say goodbye, Mark, or you're going to be silent? He's gone to sleep. So you bored Mark. Are you going to say goodbye, Rick?
Of course I will. Goodbye, everyone.
Alright, well I'll play us out on something appropriate for Skip there.